a structure that allows us to do the accounting properly and report on that.
The Nigerian Senate Wednesday passed the Rivers State 2025 budget of 1.4 trillion naira for the second reading after it was read by the Senate leader Michael Opeyemi. Opeyemi said the Senate has since assumed the powers of legislating for Rivers State, having been under the state of emergency. In his contribution, Solomon Olamilekon said there was a need for budgets to be legislated immediately so that the people of the Rivers State could feel the presence of government. In the absence of any opposition, the bill was passed through voice votes and referred to the ad hoc committee on overseeing Rivers State of emergency. The administrator of Rivers State, retired Vice Admiral Iboke Teba, says other key functionaries are to appear before the Joint National Assembly ad hoc committee to oversee emergency rule in Rivers State to defend the state's 1.48 trillion naira 2025 budget. The leader of the Senate and chairman of the ad hoc committee on oversee emergency rule in Rivers State, Opeyemi Bamidele, disclosed this at the inaugural meeting of the committee at the National Assembly Complex, Abuja. Bamidele assured Nigerians that the Red Chamber was determined to ensure that the people of Rivers State are not shortchanged due to the declaration of emergency rule in the state. President Bola Tinubu had last week written to the Senate and the House of Representatives seeking the consideration and approval of 1.48 trillion naira appropriation bill for Rivers State, citing the ongoing state of emergency imposed in the oil-rich state since March 2025. As the nation marks the second anniversary of the present democratic government in the country, residents of Port Harcourt, the Rivers State capital, say the 2 years of Tinubu-led federal government has brought untold hardship to the nation. They decried what they referred to as lack of visionary leadership, wastage, and excessive impunity and hunger, which they claim have characterized the administration.
While every other state in Nigeria has been enjoying years of democracy, the situation is not the same in Rivers State, where a retired military administrator is in charge. And the man at the helm of affairs, retired Vice Admiral Iboke Ibas, is justifying his appointment, saying that the ongoing political crisis in the state is not beyond resolution. Speaking during the event marking the 58th anniversary of the creation of Rivers State at the Government House in Port Harcourt, the administrator described the crisis as a political disagreement and not a war. The administrator called for a sober reflection on the current state of affairs in Rivers, lamenting that the situation does not reflect the dreams of the founding fathers.
I have listened to various commentaries about Mr. President's decision to invoke the Emergency Proclamation Act, and I ask, where were all these commentators when one-time political allies had minor differences and some politicians choose to take advantage to line their pockets while beating drums of war? Some of our faith leaders took sides rather than call brothers to preach tolerance and forgiveness. And some of our elders seemingly forgot their age-old mediation roles in times past.
He urged citizens to reflect on the actions and inactions that led to the current impasse and challenged leaders to put the interest of Rivers people above personal ambitions.
All through human history, great nations and states have experienced their own mountaintop and valley moments, periods of bitter contention, deep division, and intense struggle. Whether driven by political, sectarian, ethnic, or economic disagreements, these moments often seemed insurmountable at the time, yet they were eventually overcome, not by force of arms or unyielding pride, but when courageous leaders found the humility to sheath their sword and meet each other at the negotiating table for the greater good of their people.
There are, however, mixed reactions from the people of Rivers State on the performance of the suspended governor, Fubara. Great number of Rivers people commended Governor Fubara's performance and his peaceful disposition in handling the political crisis in the state, saying he is a true God sent to liberate the state. They told Tinubu to allow Fubara to return and steer the affairs of the state, describing the state as a state without direction. In an exclusive interview, Pat Obiene, a Port Harcourt-based social rights advocate, described the administration as a failure and shrouded in impunity and anarchy.
We've seen a government that is interested in curbing impunity and, maladministration and abuse of power as a form of corruption. We will not tolerate that. We will not encourage that. We will not promote such, uncivilized and primitive values that can fast erode the trust of the people in that government. Because we are not an island. These are values that these countries we expect to trade with us, cherish so much, they hold very tenaciously.
A legal practitioner, Samuel Ayasuk, accused the Tinubu administration of flouting the tenets of constitutional democracy in Nigeria and making a mess of the principles of the rule of law, separation of powers, and checks and balance.
And this is a constitutional democracy. And if we practice constitutional democracy, and then, in the same vein, the administration does things that are unconstitutional, then it is at variance with the mandate and then the intendment of the Constitution. You must not violate that which gives you authority. You're not allowed to cherry pick, to choose and pick the ones that suit you and discard the ones that you feel do not suit you.
Ayasuk said the declaration of state of emergency in Rivers was not done in accordance with the provision of the law, saying that a military government in a democratic nation is strange to the law.
The clear instance of Rivers State now being governed by a non-democratically elected person, the entire state being handed over to an individual, a sole administrator, to solely rule, is not contemplated under our Constitution.
Other residents called for unity to grow Rivers State. There may be varying opinions on the performance of leaders at the various levels, but what is not arguable is that Nigerians expect a better deal from their leaders to make their life better.
There are mixed reactions from the people of Abia State on the 2 years of President Bola Tinubu in office. While some people give him thumbs up for what they see as his bold economic reforms, others complain of increased poverty and level of insecurity in the country. Those who spoke to Signature TV at Aba Anumar has said the removal of petrol subsidy has brought immense pains, wondering why the government did not match the withdrawal with adequate palliatives.
He has something in mind as a leader, because in leadership, every leader has his own operation and administration. So it's something that no one can dictate for now. But I believe by next 2 years, things is going to be normal, as been expecting.
Tinubu na agro. Even everything they very, very costly and market, both the food stock and the other things, which are very costly. So I'm on Ochichi.
Ochichi Turumbu na state here or state in those on Nigeria. Ochichi ya adeganya mana. Ochichi ya open the heli labion. Stonefish and the last table before at least 350, 400. Even the best stonefish, he don't touch a stonefish in there 3,000, 4,000.
What are we saying? Everything has skyrocketed. We are not even talking about 100% increment. Inflation is now. Inflation. What can we talk about? Inflation is a normal thing. Every day things are increasing. So I don't know how somebody can stand or his ground and say he's supporting this administration or whatever. To me, that means saying words. It's nothing to write home about.
is particularly to me, it's not favorable to me. Because since all these past regimes and stuff, I know how I feel, but this very one, I think it's very, very hard. For some people, at times you feel, some people enjoy it, but in short, majority of people are suffering from it. Everything is highly increased, which is not how it's supposed to be. For example, I could remember right from the time of Obasanjo, the different one is everything is just very, very high. A cup of rice is 500 naira. Then we cannot even get something of 100 naira again in the market.
Little things I've seen about this government have made me to realize that the way they are ruling us is not good, because things are getting costly every day. Commodity of things, instead of things to be decreasing, they are rising every day. And the way I see this country is turning to something else, because before, when I realized what this country is before, it wasn't something that was difficult for us, because I could remember when pure water was 10 naira, 5 naira then, but now one pure water is 25 naira, 2 is 50 naira. So I don't have much to say about the government, but what can change this government is just to give us a good leadership, a good president that can lead this country, where that will make our government to change.
Yes.
Government officials, especially at the federal level, and some business elites have praised the ruling welfare subsidy
as a leader
and exchange reforms as visionary and bold policies taken by President Tinubu. The Central Bank of Nigeria was also overhauled, leading to the unified exchange rate and attempts to control excess liquidity. The naira has, however, continued to fluctuate, with signs of stability recorded in the last few weeks. It is a common tradition in Nigeria for federal and state governments to present their report cards to the public on the anniversary of their coming to office. As they do that, citizens of their parts carry out their individual and sometimes collective assessments of how they have fared the governments at the federal and state governments. Stranger TV correspondent Chinere Kimudam went to the streets of ENUGU to find out the feelings of citizens in the 2 years of the present administration.
As Nigeria marks the second anniversary of the ruling All Progressive Congress, citizens of ENUGU and across the country are expressing their views and frustration with the prevailing socio-economic condition.
The leaders should do better, from the local government to the state, so that I'm not just talking about the federal, from the grassroots. Everything is a mess. I mean, it's something that if they have conscience, if they listen to the voice of the people, because it's supposed to be democracy, it's supposed to be for the people. And so if they listen to the people, they have to do better.
It's the worst thing. Where will I even touch? Is it from the school fees, from the feeding money, from the house rent, everywhere? Things are very hard now. Something that we used to buy for 5,000, like now, penta of corn, because I'm into popcorn making. Penta of corn now is 10,500, but we normally buy it at the rate of 5,000, 6,000. So everything now is going higher.
Despite the optimism that greeted the inauguration, 2 years later, the nation is grappling with unprecedented challenges that have severely impacted the lives of citizens.
If you look at it within 2 years, what the government and the administration of President Tinubu has done, I'll say, in terms of policies, in terms of the policies they have created, they have enacted, I'll say perhaps he has done well. But the question is, how is this policies that the government, the Tinubu administration, how is it affecting or putting food on the table of the common man? My answer to that is that with time, I want to believe that things will get better.
Nigerians are now voicing their frustrations over the socio-economic downturn, security threats, and other pressing issues that have eroded their trust in the system.
If you look at the dollar rate of when Buhari was in power and Tinubu now, you know that it's quite poor. People like me that are into the trading system, I know how it affects us when it comes to the buying and selling of US dollar. So it's affecting us badly. And you know, when you tell our our people who tell people who buy from us and who sell from us. It actually affects them, even in the crypto market. So I would say that Tinubu's system has actually affected the naira as well. So I would say that things have gotten really, really, really bad. Not just in the dollar rate, when it comes to prices of things. You know, students actually, take for example, I have a sister studying medicine. So in the usual amount she asked for school back then was a certain amount. But due to how things have gotten so bad, prices of things have increased and we have to give her more money for that. So that is how I would say things have actually gotten worse.
The cries of citizens have become more frustrating, with many Nigerians still struggling to make ends meet. Amarachi Ume, a secondary school student who occasionally helps her parents in the market, shared the stark reality of her family's struggle, particularly with paying her school fees, compared with the previous years when things were much better.
The textbook is now very costly. It's very costly than sometimes they used to sell 50 leaves, 200, but now it's now 400, 500. So books are costly, everything. Even the registration, once you register to school, is very costly. That's why some people do not used to go to school. You see many people driving barrow in Holy Ghost. You'll be wondering why they are driving barrow. It's because of the school fees are they can't afford the school fees. It's very hard for them. Even to eat safe, it's very hard. Because when a governor, a president do well, then everything will be normal as before. Like olden days when my parents and my father and my mother, things were very cheap. Even bag of rice, you can buy it for 50,000. But now it's 100 and you see a bag of 150,000. Things are very hard. When they reduce it, then people can be able to help themselves and buy some things in the market.
Citizens like Ike Chukwumba attribute the current hardships in Nigeria to the policy failures and structural deficiencies of the president.
What he has not done well is that he hasn't touched human infrastructure. We're then out of hunger starvation in this country. And it's the duty of Mr. President. Look at when Jonathan Goodluck is on seat. They look at people's mind. They borrowed from different angles to sustain poor masses. But look at Mr. President. They borrowed to sustain the big men. No poor masses are suffering. Like in the market where we are suffering about civil servants not paying salary. How could we sell? If they pay civil servant salary, we sell. So let Mr. President, this minimum wage are talking about all this why? Let them pay minimum wage.
As the nation navigates these challenges, citizens are praying for divine intervention to guide the leaders, especially the president, who introduced policies that have had far-reaching consequences on the populace. They are urging the government to prioritize their welfare and work towards creating a prosperous and secure Nigeria. From the streets of ENUGU, Chinemere Mikebun, reporting for Signature TV News.
Security operatives in Enugu State launched a manhunt for the native doctor Onyeka Obu, said to be engaged in ritual killings in Umuojo, Isiago, Umumba, in Eziago local government area. The chairman of Eziago local government area, Vitalis Ndu, who had earlier visited the scene of the incidents, said security has been beefed up in the area. Correspondent Ugonne Owalo, who visited Eziago local governments, has an update.
From the area where the sound or the noise came from, they started searching very well the structure and then try even to open some weak soccerways within that place and discover the child on the ground, already covered, but alive. Partitioned soccerway. In one of the partitions, a decomposing corpse, suspected to be a female. In another partition, a decomposing corpse, suspected to be a male. And the other one is where they kept the child. They brought him out. Out of anger before they left, they tried to pour out water in the GP tank. This is the highest mystery. And discovered a man inside the GP tank who now man accepted that he kidnapped the child. With the other one, they met in the compound.
My advice goes to the parents. Don't leave it for your teacher or for your whoever. Teach your children what they will be in future, what they will do, the road they will follow, how to respect people, how to follow this world. This world is vanity upon vanity. But if you go and get money from him, see your children, see your mates, why are you here disturbing me? The child can go out and do whatever he wants to do and come back, even use his mother or her mother. So on the issue of the children, on the side of the children, I would say give advice. My advice is this. Money is good, but money is not everything.
A diphtheria outbreak in Mbutu local community, Abombise local government area of Imo State, has led to the deaths of several children, prompting an immediate closure of schools in the area. The chairman of Abombise local government, Ihiukweremere Alaribi, confirmed the developments in a statement, said the local government is in swift action to curb further spread of the disease. Alaribi urged parents to take urgent steps to vaccinate their children during the period of the temporary closure of schools and to keep their children indoors. He appealed to the public to remain calm and cooperate with health authorities. Diphtheria, a highly infectious disease caused by toxin-producing bacterium, primarily affects the nose and throat, but can also impact the skin. It spreads through respiratory droplets from coughing or sneezing or via direct contact with infected individuals or contaminated objects. Nigeria has recorded 25,812 confirmed cases of diphtheria out of 42,642 suspected cases across 36 states, the Federal Capital Territory, and 350 local government areas, with confirmed cases spread across 184 council areas in 26 states. Dr. Noye Soludo, wife of the Anambra State Governor, has launched a pod bank in 300 schools across the state as part of an intensified campaign to support women and girls facing menstrual hygiene challenges. In a statement commemorating the 2025 World Menstrual Hygiene Day, Soludo revealed that her initiative, which began in 2024, has now been fully established in schools to support girls during their menstrual cycles and related emergencies. She emphasized that the initiative aims to ensure that menstruation does not disrupt the academic focus and confidence of schoolgirls. The goal, she said, is to ensure that every menstrual emergency in schools is met with immediate, accessible solutions so that no girl has to suffer in silence. Official data estimates that over 37 million women and girls in Nigeria are unable to afford sanitary pads, forcing many to rely on unhygienic alternatives. Findings from the World Health Organization, WHO, and UNICEF indicates that inadequate water, sanitation, and hygiene infrastructure remain major barriers to safe and dignified menstrual management. Still to come, alleged student loan funds, reps probe, NEL fund disbursement, SEC warns Nigerians against unregistered silver coin investment scheme. Do stay with us.
Every second, every minute.
Fund enrollment at the sub-tertiary level. It said that apart from the monthly stipend, the government would also cover teaching fees, pay industry-based supervisors where students undertake industrial attachments, and finance the cost of skill certification. Bogaje is optimistic that the new initiative would reverse the trend and restore technical and vocational education and training, for which 120 billion naira has been allocated to its former prominence. The House of Representatives has resolved to investigate the activities of the Nigerian Education Loan Fund, NEL Fund, over allegations of unethical practices in the disbursement of student loans. The resolution followed the adoption of a motion of urgent public importance sponsored by Ali Mustafa, who called for the House intervention. Mustafa noted that the Student Loans Act 2024 was enacted to guarantee transparent, timely, and equitable access to interest-free loans for Nigerian students pursuing higher education.
The House notes that the Student Loans Access to Higher Education Act 2024 was enacted to ensure transparent, timely, and equitable access to interest-free loans for all Nigerian students pursuing higher education. Also notes that significant progress has been made in the program so far, with over 500,000 applicants and the disbursement of over 54 billion to beneficiaries across the country. Aware that a recent report by the National Orientation Agency alleging collusion between certain tertiary institutions and financial institutions to delay, divert, or conceal disbursement of student loans under the Nigerian Education Loan Fund, the NOL Fund. Also aware that the National Orientation Agency and NEL Fund have uncovered that some institutions received loan disbursement but failed to notify beneficiaries or update financial records, which is a violation of the NEL Fund guidelines, raising concerns over transparency and accountability.
The House urged NEL Fund to implement advanced IT solutions to enhance verification and streamline internal processes. Lawmakers also mandated the agency to report any institutions violating the Act or its guidelines to relevant authorities and to apply appropriate sanctions. The House of Representatives has called on the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to restore efficiency, professionalism, and dignity to Nigeria's foreign missions in New York, Atlanta, and Washington, D.C. in the United States. This decision was reached following a motion of public importance sponsored by Minority Leader Kingsley Chinda and 4 others. Chinda raised concerns over the deteriorating state of infrastructure, unpaid rents, and staff who have gone over a year without salaries at these missions.
The House notes with utmost concern disturbing and embarrassing findings discovered at the recent oversight visit of the Nigerian United States of America Parliamentary Friendship Group to the Nigerian mission houses in the New York, Atlanta, and Washington, D.C. The House also notes that mutual diplomatic representation is very crucial for promoting understanding and international cooperation amongst various countries and projecting a positive image of Nigeria among Committee of Nations. The House further notes with dismay that the Nigerian Mission House in New York is reportedly indebted in rent payments and has left over 30 staff without salaries for over a year. And in Washington, D.C., the elevator in the Mission House was only repaired after a patriotic Nigerian intervened to restore it, an act which, while noble, underscores gross negligence and systematic dysfunction in the running of Nigerian foreign missions.
The House expressed dismay at the gross negligence and the systematic dysfunction plaguing Nigeria's foreign missions in the U.S. A federal high court in Kaduna has awarded 900 million naira in damages against the immediate past governor of Kaduna State, Nasir El-Rufai, and 5 others over the unlawful detention of some Adara community elders in the Kajuru local government area of the state in 2019. The presiding judge, Justice Awal Buhari, delivered the judgment in favor of one of the plaintiffs, Awemi Dio Mezamari, and 8 other Adara elders who were unlawfully detained over the murder of the traditional ruler, Raphael Maiwada Galadima. El-Rufai, who was sued in his personal capacity, was found guilty for ordering the arrest and detention of the elders. The judge also dismissed preliminary objections raised by the respondents, who argued that the Federal High Court lacks jurisdiction to handle the case and that the case was based on torts rather than fundamental human rights violations. In her reactions, the lead counsel for the plaintiffs, Gloria Balason, described the judgment as a landmark victory against abuse of executive power and a watershed in the fight against executive lawlessness and human rights violations. The 8 elders were arrested during a town hall meeting convened by the former governor in 2019 following the abduction and killing of the traditional ruler by his abductors. The elders, including a former commissioner and retired police officer, were detained for several months before being released on the advice of the Attorney General of the Kaduna State, who found no legal justification for their continued detention. Armed bandits have reportedly attacked several communities in Munya local government area of Niger State, killing scores of villagers and rustling over 200 cattle. The affected communities include Zagzaga, Chibani, and Kuch. According to eyewitness reports, over 100 gunmen stormed the villages, moving from one community to another, setting houses ablaze, looting food supplies, and forcing residents to flee for their lives. Sources also revealed that a camp of the Joint Security Task Force stationed in Kuchi was set on fire during the attack, with security operatives reportedly fleeing for safety. It was further gathered that the assailants had regrouped at Kusasu community in Shiroro local government area, which borders Munya, before launching the attack. The Commissioner for Homeland Security, retired Major General Bello Abdullahi Mohammed, confirmed the incident. In reaction, the Special Advisor to the Governor on Communication, Media and Strategy, Jonathan Vasa, described the attack as barbaric, wicked, and inhumane. He expressed concern over the role of local informants, who he said are undermining the government's efforts to tackle the security challenges and foster meaningful development in the state. Efforts to reach the chairman of Munya local government, Aminu Najume, were unsuccessful as he was unreachable at the time of reporting. The Securities and Exchange Commission has issued a stern warning to Nigerians, urging them to stay clear of unregistered investment schemes, specifically naming Silvercoin Investments Cooperative Society and Silvercoin Limited. In a circular released on Wednesday, the Commission cautioned the public against engaging with these companies or their representatives for any form of capital markets business. The SEC emphasized that investing in unregistered and unregulated entities exposes the individuals to significant financial risks, including potential fraud and loss of investments. Director General of the SEC, Emomotimi Agama, reaffirmed the Commission's commitment to enforcing regulations and taking decisive action against such firms. He also highlighted that under the new Investment and Securities Act 2025, digital assets fall under the SEC's regulatory. Virtual asset service providers and digital assets exchanges are now required to register with the Commission. Agama further outlined the SEC's focus on investor education through broadcast, digital campaigns, and the inclusion of capital market literacy in educational institutions. CBN unveils new Islamic finance liquidity instruments. Nigeria's debt burden set to rise as President Tinubu requests 24 billion naira loan. Details of these and more in our business news.
The Development Bank of Nigeria, DBN, has recognized partner financial institutions, PFIs, for their contribution to the growth of micro, small, and medium enterprises, MSMEs, in Nigeria. At the bank's 2025 Service Ambassadors Award held in Lagos, the bank disbursed over 1 trillion naira in total, including 273.4 billion naira within the past year. The Managing Director, Tony Okpanachi, praised PFIs for their support in building MSME capacity, emphasizing that the awards were meant to encourage deeper impact through innovation and awareness efforts. Key achievements in the period for which the awards were presented included a 151.24% increase in disbursement to women-led enterprises and a 181% rise in financing for youth-age individuals. Financial inclusion soared by over 110%. The number of partner institutions grew from 5 to over 79 in 5 years. UBA received the Platinum Service Ambassador Award for the highest impact on MSMEs, while Lapo Microfinance Bank was honored for its contribution to grassroots and women MSMEs. Other accolades included recognition for Providus Bank, FCMB, Infinity Trust Mortgage Bank, Fidelity Bank, Stanbic IBTC, Wema Bank, and Boaba Microfinance Bank for various impactful initiatives. DBN aims to continue promoting expanded advisory services among partners and high mineral wealth into jobs, technology, and manufacturing growth within the country. Mining Minister Dele Alake said a $600 million lithium processing plant near the Kaduna-Niger border is slated for commissioning this quarter, while a 200 million lithium refinery on the outskirts of Abuja is nearing completion. He also said 2 additional processing plants are expected in Nasarawa State, which borders the capital Abuja, before the 3rd quarter of 2025. The federal government is set to generate up to $7 million in daily revenue from fertilizer exports in the next 2 years, according to the president of Dangote Industries Limited, Aliko Dangote. Dangote disclosed this during a courtesy visit to the Nigerian Ports Authority and their headquarters in Marina, Lagos on Monday. He revealed that the company plans to export about 16,000 tons of fertilizers daily, positioning itself as the country's major supplier of foreign exchange earnings. He added that the company would also begin coal exports in the coming weeks as part of its broader export expansion program. Highlighting the importance of port infrastructure to their operations, Dangote stressed the need for continued collaboration with the Nigerian Port Authority to to develop Nigeria's marine and blue economy sector. He noted that Dangote Industries Limited, as the MPA's largest customer, depends heavily on the authority's support to sustain its operations. The Nigerian Aviation Handling Company PLC (NACO) aims to achieve a turnover of 300 billion naira within the next 5 years as part of its growth strategy to enhance operations and shareholder value. At the recent annual general meeting, Chairman Sayinde Fadeni emphasized the company's commitment to this strategy, highlighting significant progress in operational improvement, equipment, investment, staff welfare, and technical capacity. For the financial year ending December 31, 2024, NACO reported a profit before tax of 18.70 billion naira, a 115.4% increase from 8.68 billion naira in 2023. Revenue rose by 88.5% to 53.54 billion naira from 28.40 billion naira the previous year. NACO plans to diversify by investing in hospitality, including the construction of a hotel and expanding its commodities export business. The company is also adopting new technologies such as Oracle ERP and HCM systems to enhance efficiency and digital transformation. Additionally, staff welfare initiatives include a recent 50% salary increase, profit sharing, and performance bonuses. Stock market reports. Trading on the Nigerian Stock Exchange closed on Tuesday with Airtel Africa registering the highest gain. At the opening bell on Tuesday, Airtel shares opened at 2,157 naira per share and closed at 2,372 naira 50 kobo per share, gaining a 10% change, putting Airtel Africa at the top of the gain as stable. Two other companies, Omatech Ventures and Connect, followed with gains of 9.23% and 8.63% respectively. Omatech Ventures shares opened at 65 kobo per share and closed at 71 kobo per share, while Connect opened at 3 naira 13 kobo per share and closed at 3 naira 40 kobo per share. The fourth highest gainer at the end of Tuesday's trading was NACO, opening at 4 naira 50 kobo per share and closing at 8 naira 75 kobo per share, gaining an 8.39% increase. On the losers chart on Tuesday's trading, Mark Nichols occupied the top spot, registering a negative 9.80% change, from which he opened with 2 naira 45 kobo per share and closed at 2 naira 21 kobo per share. Mark Nichols was followed on the losers table by CWG PLC, which registered a negative 9.50% at the close of business. It opened the day's trading at 10 naira per share and closed at 9 naira 50 kobo per share. This is Business News in Global News. I am Chimize Zadima.
Still to come, U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance speaks at Bitcoin 2025 conference. Palestinian UN envoy breaks down in tears over deaths of Gazan children. These and more after the break.
Every second, every minute, every day, news is breaking. Events occur and there are new developments. At Signature TV, we follow these stories objectively, bringing all sides without bias, explaining the complex issues, breaking down the numbers, and
events hurt the crypto industry under President Biden. Vance also said that the administration fired the U.S. Security and Exchange Commission SEC Chair Gary Gensler and would continue to remove officials he views as hostile to crypto. Nvidia beat sales expectations during its fiscal first quarter, but forecast second quarter revenue below market estimate on Wednesday. Expected an $8 billion hit to sales from tighter U.S. curbs on exports of its AI chips to key semiconductor access to one of the largest markets for semiconductors. New U.S. restrictions on the sale of Nvidia's H20 chips to China, the only AI processor it would legally export to the country, prompted Nvidia to disclose in April that it expected a $5.5 billion charge, while CEO Jensen Huang had in May plagued the revenue impact related to the restrictions at about $15 billion. On Wednesday, Nvidia said the actual first quarter charge due to the H20 restrictions was $1 billion less than expected because it was able to reuse some materials. It said it lost $2.5 billion in H20 sales in the first quarter and expected to miss $8 billion in the second quarter.
Can you imagine? You get this incredible graphics card here, Blackwell. We're going to shrink it and put it in there. Does that make any sense? Well, you can't do that without artificial intelligence. And the reason for that is because we're generating most of the pixels using our tensor cores. So we ray trace only the pixels we need, and we generate using artificial intelligence all of the other pixels we have. As a result, the energy efficiency is just off the charts. Who doesn't want one of those? And if you use PC, Mac, anything, because it's a cloud platform. It's a cloud computing platform that sits on your desk. You could also use it as a Linux workstation if you like.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky met with U.S. evangelical leader Franklin Graham on Wednesday, emphasizing the importance of U.S. support amidst the ongoing conflict with Russia. The Ukrainian president also reiterated his country's desire for peace.
And for us it's very important to the United States not to withdraw themselves from, all this situation, the war Russia against us, because Russia wants it. This is their dream.
Yes.
And yes, so we need peace. We want peace.
But we're here to support you and support your country, and we've spent over $200 million in Ukraine since the war started, and we'll keep supporting Ukraine as a people. It's
number one.
And Mr. Isaacs has been responsible for spent months traveling all over your country, so he understands the military problems you face. But we support you.
Thank you for your prayers and that you helped people. This is the most important, to help people and to hold them and to support them, support children. It's very important, and that you financially support it, and churches and people. This is very important. Thank you.
In a social media post, Zelensky provided additional details about their discussion, which included expanding humanitarian initiatives, such as establishing medical centers, rehabilitating veterans, and providing assistance to orphans and people affected by the war. And as the news this hour, many thanks for watching. I'll see you in another 7 minutes for the morning show. Stay with us. Today, 2 years ago, our life changed totally, completely, because the president went on stage after he took his oath and said subsidy is gone. I remember that same day I was watching that speech. The fuel was around 220. But after that speech, fuel moved from 220 to 450, because I know I rushed out to buy so as to not to be caught in the wind of, buying much more in terms of price. But ever since then, the prices of fuel has gone way beyond the local man, way beyond what people can afford. I mean, if anyone had told me that within a short period of time we'll buy fuel a liter for 1,400 naira, I will doubt the person. But it happened in this country, even though you would say it has stabilized since then. But would you say it has stabilized? What are the common man saying about this administration in terms of their policies, the application of policies, and the reactions of people? We've heard them speak about how much money they have gained, have saved, and how much money they've also given to the governors, how much debt they've actually paid, to whatever, organizations that they owe. But I haven't heard them say anything specifically, what they've done for the common man, especially as regards food. Headline inflation for food rose to over 40% in this country, even though now you could say maybe it has moderated to maybe something around 35, 37. But we still have a daunting task in making sure that this country move away from its doldrum. Well, I want to welcome you to the morning show. It's going to be some discussions around the administration of the president and maybe the administration of other governors who have found themselves in that space. I'm Charles. You're welcome. The Daily Trust newspaper. On the Daily Trust this morning, the worst behind us. President speaks. Military arrests 18 soldiers, 15 cops over supply of arms to terrorists. AFDB, Nigeria, 90 others elects additional successor today. 2 years after putting Tinubu on the scale, you can find out the detail on the Daily Trust newspaper. Highs, lows of ECOWAS at 50. Expert ground rents hike. Wike tells Abuja property owners. 10,217 persons killed in Nigeria in 24 months. Amnesty International. Nigerian pilgrims returns missing 8.2 million naira to owner in Makkah. All the details you can find on the Daily Trust newspaper. And now to the Daily Times newspaper. Daily Times, ECOWAS at 50. Go on, Tinubu lead commemorative card signing at historic anniversary event. And the Daily Times have some of the happenings on this administration in the last 2 years. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu at 2. It says over 900,000 beneficiaries of Presidential Loan and Grant Scheme, over 300,000 beneficiaries of Students Loan Scheme, over $10 billion FX debts cleared, over 440 ongoing road projects, including over 2,700 kilometers of superhighways, 3.84% GDP growth in Q4 2024, highest in 3 years, 70,000 naira minimum wage payments, over 13,500 terrorists eliminated, over $50 billion in new foreign direct investments commitment, net foreign exchange reserves up from $3.99 billion 2023 to $23.11 billion 2024. Over $8 billion in new oil and gas investments unlocked, 4 new landmark tax bills, 5 new regional development commissions, over $800 million realized in processing investments in solid minerals in 2024. I think there are a few things that was left out. He didn't add the state of emergency on Rivers. That should have been part of the achievement, so to speak. Anyways, fingers crossed. On this day newspaper this morning, Tinubu, Nigeria is working. Our worst days now behind us. With the writer declares zero VAT on food, education, healthcare, rent, others. Discloses external reserves grew by 500% from $4 billion to over $23 billion. Edun, impression Nigeria will borrow $25 billion in 2 years. Erroneous. Dangote refinery ends Nigeria's status as Africa's biggest fuel importer. Dangote refinery ends Nigeria's status as Africa's biggest fuel importer. All right. You can find all the details on the This Day newspaper. And now over to the Punch newspaper. On the Punch this morning, Tinubu's 2-year review stirs fresh political firestorm. All right, let's see. Midterm magic. Manufacturers gasp under energy credit burden as reforms bite. May 29 speech. We're laying foundation for sustainable future, says Tinubu. With the writer, President lists external reserves growth, federal government's push against bandits among economic security gains. All the details you can find on the Punch newspaper. We're back to the table this morning, and it seems every single paper has the 2 years administration of President Tinubu highlighted right on the front page of their document, and it's all about what was mentioned. I'm stunned that one of them read 70,000 naira minimum wage as an achievement. Well, you could say that it was 30,000 naira, and he increased it to 70,000 naira, and then you wonder, what is the inflation rate? As at the time it was 30,000, and now what is the inflation rate right now? Anyways, Chris joins us. Chris, good morning. Thank you for joining.
Good morning, Charles. Congratulations to all the people elected in 2023, and were handed over our lives on June 29th of the same year. So we are 702 years into your mercy. We are 702 days into your hand. We are 702 days into your disposition, your taste for things in general, the way you manipulate us in your pawn of governance and decision making. We thank God that few of us that are still alive in your hands. And we say congratulations. Most of the congratulations goes to our dear President, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And I find something very stunning, and I must comment that now, that all the newspapers in Nigeria are now being, they're now being pulled by the neck. All of them had a document of the scorecard. None of them has even tried to do anything to add or remove. They just put it there for us. So today, all we are seeing is scorecard of our President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And like Charles, you said, you decree that we should pay 70,000 naira, but you're not the pay. You put it as an achievement. It's the states that are paying salaries of 70,000. The civil servants, and also federal civil servants are also on 70,000. So federal government have more might to pay salaries. You put all the 36 states into it, and you call it achievement. That's good. We take it. So we have the scorecards. And they've told us the scorecards to look at. And these are figures. Honestly, no honesty. None of these things has effect on the common man in the street. None has touched. That you gave 900,000 in Nigeria, and I keep saying, is it a Pentecostal pastor arrangee miracle? That out of 900,000 people, we cannot put a hand at one person who has benefited from it.
But even at that, even if
no, I'm saying the people that are forcing the president to put this as a scorecard should also put. Let us see the names of those who received this, because it might be the politicians who are throwing away and collecting back, and they're using figures here. In a population of 240 million, you gave some people 900,000 and you put it as you are sharing money. And we have warned and said, stop sharing this money because it doesn't get to the target. You give it to politicians to go and share. Or the system Nigeria that is bugged by corruption to share, get money to people. What for? Why not use that money to do something that will last? It's not sustainable to share money. That's what we're saying. But you put it as over 300,000 beneficiaries of students' loan that is littered with scandals. That 50% of that money did not get to anybody. And the NEF fund and the other ones are still talking. They just spoke for it 1 week, I told you. Nothing has been heard about it again. Whether you received it or not, the university that received, the people that is just, it has come, they have just raised it and the NEF fund, because it's supposed to be NEF fund, is here as part of the achievement of our dear president. Good luck, Nigeria. We are making progress. The idea is that the president might have goodwill. The people who have been sent to deliver, they will chop army and chop pium. They don't have mercy. And they will use it back to come and pre-sync. Some of the people who are publishing congratulating messages for the president are corrupt money. Like you said just a few days ago, they are on the table, so they don't make noise. If you are eating on the table, you don't make noise. But people are watching. You know the eye that is looked straight and the one that, I don't know how to put that in English. Help me. But we know the difference between B and Okwefi. The name and legacy impression and the B, capital B. You will know the difference when they are written. So nothing there, nobody is deceiving nobody. Put all the figures. What they will ask you is Obi has gone to army for 2 years. 702 years of APC government in Nigeria. This is the scorecard. And they are proud. Good luck. Congratulations, let's celebrate. Roll out the drums. Let's go to the streets. Let's look at the cannon shots. We have done wonderfully well. What else can one say without sounding politically incorrect? But this Nigeria where we are, the man where they cry, they see road. I've been in this country, I've not been anywhere all my life. And I make bold to say, this is the worst time in the life of Nigerians. Use me as an example. If it's not worse for you watching, then somewhere you are somewhere. Let's pick out the ones who have worse life. Count me among them, and then we check the number. That's how you count success and scorecard. If the more people are more in trouble, then the scorecard is low. It's not something we make noise. Are the politicians shameless? There are certain things they shouldn't even make noise and they bold and they're picking figures. Go on and go the figures. Over 15,000 terrorists eliminated. Check the number of Nigerians. Somewhere, Amnesty International published a figure here. 10,207 persons killed in Nigeria in 24 months. Amnesty International on Daily Trust. Check the down. Yeah. So when you are putting scorecard, 15,000 terrorists eliminated, then about 11,000 Nigerians of what the foreign organization captured. So this is the scorecard, and they are playing. So when we are saying good luck to Nigerians, you got ahead with 5,000. Yeah, that's the figure. We are saying, okay, if a terrorist killed 15,000, 10,000 people or 11,000 on the average, we killed them back by 15,000. So it's called, I mean, the check, we are looking at the marks. They're scoring, they'll score. If you're a teacher, 15 over 10, or 10 over 15, What mark is it? It's pass mark. So that's we score the federal government, our dear president, good mark there. I think he scored up to...
The issue is, I mean, we don't even have the paraphernalia to know how many we are. We're quoting international community as the population of this country as 239 estimate.
No, I'm using my own figure. I'm not saying anybody should quote me.
I'm going somewhere. We don't even have that data. When was the last time we conducted a census in this country? We don't even have. We don't know how many we are in this country.
Charles, don't remind.
And beyond that,
Charles, don't remind the president.
I'm going somewhere. So how did they know we killed 13,500 terrorists?
Somebody is writing reports and giving it to the president.
Who was counting?
And we have the army, the security forces who are doing the killings, and they know how many they killed. And it's not contestable. They put that somebody must write a report to the president, and we figure it out. We should put it in the scorecard, and we have to tick them. That's the checklist. We're going down. Over 50 billion in new FDI commitments.
Oh, it's not even. Okay.
We're committed. Commitment is not yet as something that is materialized. Net foreign exchange reserve from 3.99 billion 2023 to 23.11 billion in 2024. Good man. These are figures, and some people, these are figures they use to daze common man. When they're throwing these figures along the line, you get confused. What is the common man has to do with this? We are talking about something you come and you're painting at this. You're putting figures and pictures of people that have benefited from the government. We see them. Call them up in the day. Let's have testimonial. They are the people who should be giving testimonials. Politicians should not give us scorecard of themselves because the people are lacking trust in politicians every day. And every move they make is reducing that trust. And as far as it's concerned, I don't know who are working for them. And people who are supposed to talk about stakeholders and what they feel. That's if they think you have a stake. Recently, I don't think any government, subsequently before or now, thinks that people in Nigeria have a stake in this country. They just go ahead and they finish, they give their own scorecard. They are the judge, the jury in their own cases. And you better take it or leave it. Any dissecting view, you are a terrorist. And that's not fair. Well, that's so much good because there's nothing to review. All of them, all the newspapers, we are reading a paper handed over to them. There's no analysis. You must put it that way. That's what we are seeing. So Nigerian newspapers, congratulations. We are celebrating your performances. You are doing wonderfully well. Even more than the president. These newspapers are performing more than the president.
It was sponsored.
But then I'm said,
it was sponsored, so you don't expect them to do anything.
So when you're talking about blood money, the newspapers are also part of it. So even if there's nothing they sponsor you, you put it down. All of them, nobody is trying to analyze what you are sponsored to write. That's good. So good luck to the Nigeria is working.
Our worst days are behind us.
They are just behind us. And we're going to get back. Look at the olive VAT is removed from food. And that was done how many months ago? But what effect? Because when you say VAT removed, if announced VAT was removed from food, you go to the market to buy all those food imported or whatever, you would see the effect. Nothing has changed.
Absolutely.
How much is the bag of rice? And of course, the bag of rice, if it's smuggled or the one produced here, because the way they remove VAT is the one that is smuggled or imported. But then, even if you have done that, what is the effect on locally produced? Has any bag of a good bag of rice come less than 100,000 naira? Where? So we are looking at how this thing affect our lives. You know one thing about government, I also appreciate the challenges of being in government. At the level the president is operating. But we are saying that you might be removing flare from the body of a dog. You are not showing it to the dog. Nobody will know you are working. The dog will think you are biting it. He will not think you are doing the good well. I'm saying they didn't analyze the scorecard of whoever is giving this scorecard may not like the president. Because we needed more details that will have strong effect on our life. When we look at it, say, I can pick this. This also affected me. This has affected me. There are more housing. There are roads now. They say roads. Those roads, I can pick one in my village that has been done. There are lights. The price of food, they've removed VAT. And here, I can see since the VAT was removed, now you go to buy cereal or something that is packaged that it came from abroad is cheaper. Nothing. And somebody who had the duty of presenting our scorecard for our president 2 years into it, this is what he gave us. And they're proud of it. And the person is sitting down there earning salary. And this is the picture he gave us. It's like, they know, it's like, if you like it, take it. If you don't like, go and hug and transform. If they care about us, they'll give us more detailed analysis of what the president has done. Even the people who write speeches for him, they're not looking deep. They're not touching the life of people. They're not linking us. They're not linking us with the government. So I hope they're doing very well. They meant well. So let it not be that whatever is happening to that on the mind of, they're not working on our minds to like our president. Maybe they're helping to take us, alienate us furthermore from appreciating what our president is doing. So I don't see what else to review here. We're laying on the punch. We are laying foundation for sustainable future, says Tinubu. So and I make sure on all the frontage of our newspapers is the scorecard released. President Bola Tinubu at 2 released. And now, what it means is, from all indication, after 2 years, everybody working for Tinubu, even those who are not working for them, even the opposition parties, all are thinking about 2027. The life of Nigeria has come to a halt. So what we are feeling that if this is what achievement we have gotten to in 2 years, that's all we are holding on to until we get to 2027. With the way things are going, I'm not expecting that there will be anything there because everybody has gone into campaign, directly or indirectly. Even before INEC declares campaign open, everybody has gone.
Ojizokalu wore an adire having...
Ordinarily, what should happen to somebody who starts such campaign before time? Ordinarily.
He had Tinubu and Ojizokalu.
And then that's it. So meaning that you start seeing people who are putting posters on the wall of Abuja overnight.
It's everywhere, in fact. It's everywhere. I mean,
so that's it. We are now into campaign. And it's surprising to say that some of our distinguished senators, the distinguished senators, and I want to say it 3 times, distinguished senators are leading this. They are supposed to be lawmakers. And they know when we're supposed to start campaigning. They've started. We are in close. And the paraphernalias and souvenirs, everywhere, posters.
It's even the APC that have started. They're in power. I'm wondering, like, it feels to me that, like, it's still in opposition. How can you be in power and 2 years to the election, or less than 2 years to an election, you are already out?
Let me analyze it this way. I am a student of arts. Sometimes we ask the question, why is there so much Oyibo music talking about love, 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 love? And one teacher stood up to say, you only preach what you do not have. You preach what you do not have. What do APC tell you? There are people within them know that they have bad market. So they begin early to shout and market it. I'm sorry. Because if you are proud and everybody can see what you are doing, you don't need to start just when you are into office, you are already campaigning for 2027. It's because you do not have anything and you are afraid already. And that's what it means. It has negative psychology. So when you are supposed to be saying, somebody say, you are not talking about what you do, say, can't you see, don't you have eyes? You can see this. So don't distract me and walk. But you left the work and start campaigning, shouting what you did, and when we go there, we just see nothing. As ordinary Nigeria, and see nothing all the figures of your scorecard. This is official, sponsored, pasted, nothing. I can't link anything to my life to it. And then somewhere, somebody said, Dangote, that's something sound like good news. But you see the tiny mark this day gave it. Dangote refinery earns Nigeria's status as Africa's biggest fuel importer. And it should be given a tiny line. It's not worth emphasizing on. That will tell you in Nigeria, But in Nigeria, people, a country that value things that affect their life. If Dangote has removed us from being highest importer of fuel in the world, it's not something that you take front line and giving emphasis. And you say, we are sincere. Something is wrong. These are figures. You don't need to go back. You just pick a few Nigerian newspapers, flip through. You will just say, draw the line of what's happening in the country. This is Nigeria today. This newspapers is Nigeria today. This is what happened in Nigeria. So, good luck, Nigeria. Why should I be the person crying more than the bereaved? Make your mouth, you lie on it. I won't forget to tell you that the goat that is lying on the ground is lying on the scale. God bless Nigeria. And God bless the Tinubu government too.
Indeed. Many thanks, Chris. We appreciate you for your insight on the show today, as always. All right, we're back after the short break. Just stay with us.
Every second, every minute, every day.
Tell our story. Showing on Signature TV every weekday at 4 p.m. WAT, 1600 hours GMT.
Every second, every minute, every...
As Nigeria marks the second anniversary of the ruling All Progressive Congress, citizens of ENUGU and across the country are expressing their views and frustration.
It's the worst thing. Where will I even touch? Is it from the school fees, from the feeding money, from the house rent, everywhere? Things are very hard now. Something that we used to buy for 5,000, like now, penta of corn, because I'm into popcorn making. Penta of corn now is 10,500, but we normally buy it at the rate of 5,000, 6,000. So everything now is going higher.
Despite the optimism that greeted the inauguration, 2 years later, the nation is grappling with unprecedented challenges that have severely impacted the lives of citizens.
If you look at it within 2 years, what the government and the administration of President Tinubu has done, I'll say, in terms of policies, in terms of the policies they have created, they have enacted, I'll say perhaps he has done well. But the question is, how is this policies that the government, the Tinubu administration, how is it affecting or putting food on the table of the common man? My answer to that is that with time, I want to believe that things will get better.
Nigerians are now voicing their frustrations over the socio-economic downturn, security threats, and other pressing issues that have eroded their trust in the system.
If you look at the dollar rate of when Buhari was in power and Tinubu now, you know that it's quite poor. People like me that are into the trading system, I know how it affects us when it comes to the buying and selling of US dollar. So it's affecting us badly. And you know, when you tell our people who buy from us and who sell from us, it actually affects them, even in the crypto market. So I would say that Tinubu's system has actually affected the naira as well. So I would say that things have gotten really, really, really bad. Not just in the dollar rate, when it comes to prices of things. You know, students actually take for example.
With the previous years when things were much better.
The price is now very costly. It's very costly than sometimes they used to sell 50 200, but now it's now 400, 500. So books are costly, everything. Even the registration, once you do start to school, is very costly. That's why some people do not used to go to school. You see many people driving barrow in only goes. You'll be wondering why they are driving barrow. It's because of the school fees are they can't afford the school fees. It's very hard for them. Even to eat safe, it's very hard. Because when a governor, a president do well, then everything will be normal as before. Like olden days when my parents and when my father and my mother, things were very cheap. Even bag of rice, you can buy it for 50,000. But now it's 100 and you see a bag of 150,000. Things are very hard. When they reduce it, then people can be able to help themselves and buy some things in the market.
Citizens like Ike Chukwumba attribute the current hardships in Nigeria to the policy failures and structural deficiencies of the president.
What he has not done well is that he hasn't touched human infrastructure. We're then out of hunger starvation in this country. And it's the duty of Mr. President. Look at when Jonathan Goodluck is on seat. They look at people's mind. They borrowed from different angles to sustain poor masses. But look at Mr. President. They borrowed to sustain the big men. No poor masses are suffering. Like in the market where we are suffering about civil servants not paying salary. How could we sell? If they pay civil servant salary, we sell. So let Mr. President, this minimum wage are talking about all this why? Let them pay minimum wage.
As the nation navigates these challenges, citizens are praying for divine intervention to guide the leaders, especially the president, who introduced policies that have had far-reaching consequences on the populace. They are urging the government to prioritize their welfare and work towards creating a prosperous and secure Nigeria. From the streets of ENUGU, Chinemere Mikebun, I'm reporting for Signature TV News.
With a population of about 36 million people, the Southeast is awash with stories. Every day on Southeast News, we tell the peculiar story of the Southeast and her people.
Our Southeast should be the Silicon Valley of Nigeria.
Their successes, achievements, and daily challenges. Do you have a Southeast story to share? Community achievements and challenges, completed and uncompleted projects, bad roads, water scarcity, erosion, flooding, insecurity, or even disagreements? Bring it on to Southeast News. On Southeast News, no story is too big or too small. Southeast News. Let's tell our story. Showing on Signature TV every weekday at 4 p.m. WAT, 1600 hours GMT.
While every other state in Nigeria has been enjoying years of democracy, the situation is not the same in Rivers State, where a retired military administrator is in charge. And the man at the helm of affairs, retired Vice Admiral Ibok Ekte Ibas, is justifying his appointment, saying that the ongoing political crisis in the state is not beyond resolution. Speaking during the event marking the 58th anniversary of the creation of Rivers State at the Government House in Port Harcourt, the administrator described the crisis as the administrator called for a sober reflection on the current state of affairs in Rivers, lamenting that the situation does not reflect the dreams of the founding fathers.
I have listened to various commentaries about Mr. President's decision to invoke the Emergency Proclamation Act, and I ask, where were all these commentators when one-time political allies had minor differences and some politicians choose to take advantage to line their pockets while beating drums of war? Some of our faith leaders took sides rather than call brothers to preach tolerance and forgiveness. And some of our elders seemingly forgot their age-old mediation roles in times past.
He urged citizens to reflect on the actions and inactions that led to the current impasse and challenged leaders to put the interest of Rivers people above personal ambitions.
All through human history, great nations and states have experienced their own mountaintop and valley moments, periods of bitter contention, deep division, and intense struggle. Whether driven by political, sectarian, ethnic, or economic disagreements, these moments often seemed insurmountable at the time, yet they were eventually overcome, not by force of arms or unyielding pride, but when courageous leaders found the humility to sheathe their sword and meet each other at the negotiating table for the greater good of their people.
There are, however, mixed reactions from the people of Rivers State on the performance of the suspended Governor Fubara. Great number of Rivers people commended Governor Fubara's performance and his peaceful disposition in handling the political crisis in the state, saying he is a true God sent to liberate the state. They told Tinubu to allow Fubara to return and steer the affairs of the state, describing the state as a state without direction. In an exclusive interview, Pat Obiene, a Port Harcourt-based social rights advocate, described the administration as a failure and shrouded in impunity and anarchy.
We've seen a government that is interested in curbing impunity and, maladministration and abuse of power as a form of corruption. We will not tolerate that. We will not encourage that. We will not promote such, uncivilized and primitive values that can fast erode the trust of the people in that government. Because we are not an island. These are values that these countries will expect to trade with us, cherish so much, they hold very tenaciously.
A legal practitioner, Samuel Ayasuk, accused the Tinubu administration of flouting the tenets of constitutional democracy in Nigeria and making a mess of the principles of the rule of law, separation of powers, and checks and balance.
And this is a constitutional democracy. And if we practice constitutional democracy, and then, in the same vein, the administration does things that are unconstitutional, then it is at variance with the mandate and then the intendment of the Constitution. You must not violate that which gives you authority. You're not allowed to cherry pick, to choose and pick the ones that suit you and discard the ones that you feel do not suit you.
Ayasuk said the declaration of state of emergency in Rivers was not done in accordance with the provision of the law, saying that a military government in a democratic nation is strange to the law.
The clear instance of Rivers State now being governed by a non-democratically elected person, the entire state being handed over to an individual, a sole administrator, to solely rule, is not contemplated under our Constitution.
Other residents called for unity to grow Rivers State. There may be varying opinions on the performance of leaders at the various levels, but what is not arguable is that Nigerians expect a better deal from their leaders to make their life better.
power, but in the nation, while the civilians managed the country's affairs for just 10 years. What possibly could have sustained the military for so long?
It was the politicians, the frustrated politicians, that brought the military in at every twist and turn. And in exchange for for that, they rewarded them by sponsoring them for elections. So you had this unholy alliance. Most of it hasn't
influenced the next coup, and that's the reason.
Fair and peaceful. However, there was in fact a huge array of electoral practices virtually in all the states of the Federation before the actual voting began.
The annulment of June 12 and its tragic consequences forced military President Ibrahim Babangida to step aside and fostering on an embattled nation a contraption called Interim National Government, which was eventually kicked out in a coup led by General Sani Abacha. Innocent Chukwuma, a globally renowned advocate of human rights and good governance, is today the Ford Foundation's director for West Africa. But during that struggle to actualize the mandate of the June presidential election, he was an activist with the civil anybody. It started as a fortnightly forum called Campaign for Democracy, where we gathered as it were at Lagos those days, people from labor union, from student union, from professional association, to say, look, the way this Babangida's transition program is going, it will lead us nowhere. We need to begin to mobilize Nigerian people to realize that they are being taken for a ride. So people who participated in this forum after a while say, you know, the kind of analysis you people are making under this platform, Nigerians out there are not aware of it. Why don't we set up a platform to crystallize these ideas? So what started a fortnightly forum leading to publication of a bulletin called Campaign for Democracy metamorphosed into not just another organization, but a very potent organization that gave teeth to the battle against military rule.
I'm also seeing that people kept on talking about peace, peace. Oh, let's there be peace. But there cannot be peace without justice.
If you have to use one word, that word is patriotism. If you want to expand it a little further, it will be the dawn of realism. It was a build-up over many, many years, particularly during the period of the President Ibrahim Babangida. Yes, the civilian regime had been thrown out. He had ruled for several years. Plans were now afoot to restore the nation back to civilian rule. But at every turn, they instituted uncertainty.
Patriotism. Take, for example, a man like Papa Enauru. Take, for example, a man like Rewani. Papa Rewani is a successful businessman, comfortable, wealthy, famous, has seen it all. But I would say it's patriotism. A man like General Lani Akinade had been chief of army staff, had been involved in the civil war, had been chief of defense staff. He, in his profession, is done too well. He suffered, lost everything. Those of us who are involved.
Abiola declared himself President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And behind me stands a statue of MKO Abiola, a testament to that declaration in 1994.
The International Observer Group said so. NEC itself said so. They know it and they said it. In his affidavit to the Court of Appeal in Kaduna, NEC said the results were already unknown. I won.
All the results were submitted showing Abiola as winner. As far back as June 20, all the results of June 12, we submitted all the results. Abiola was represented.
The Abiola declaration of himself as the elected president, in which he claimed the mandate of the Nigerian people to rule, energized underground anti-military pressure groups, chief among which was the National Democratic Coalition NADECO, with prominent Nigerian politicians and activists as members. Chief John Oyegu, former governor of Edo State and former chairman of Nigeria's ruling party, All Progressive Congress, was a chieftain of NADECO during those years.
The kernel of that group, the realization that, it is not as if there was one single, of course you can't have a single route. They will catch on to it, latch on to it.
Who is an operation? And if you find yourself...
How it's the biggest of all the countries in Africa in terms of population. It's the biggest economy. We have the most to lose and we have the most to contribute to the continent of Africa.
There is nothing to regret about it.
Pronouncements made by the president, the most sensitive on 23 general election, most of the, or better still, the major contenders in that election all promised to remove the most powerful, if not the most powerful, one of the most powerful nations on earth. So having said that, what we witnessed in Nigeria was a situation whereby Mr. President came on board and then declared that the fuel subsidy is gone. He made that pronouncement without putting in place mechanisms to ensure that of a truth that the Nigerian people will benefit from the removal of the subsidy. As opposed to what many persons envisaged, the opposite seems to have played out. And in which case, even Mr. President, with due respect to him, his policies so far, his policies, apart from the policies of the governments or the federating units that make up Nigeria, the policies of Mr. President are not that which has so far lent credence to the fact that he actually was prepared for governance, the true sense of it. He has not been able to convince most of us that...
Country from bankruptcy. Countries are also willing to borrow. You remember the last time, there were countries and even organizations that were not willing to borrow Nigeria money because they don't see the pathway to recovering their money. You know, aside that, they have also paid up their debts, some debts that have been paid up. So you wonder really, if we're criticizing them based on removal, is it not the best thing to do so that if there's any other president that comes, nobody will come and start telling us about subsidy? Because ever since, there's always been one tool used by this successive government to, you know, either siphon money or to hoodwink that. So any president that is coming after Tinubu, we are sure that's not going to speak or remove or do anything about subsidy. Don't you think it's a right thing in the right direction that he has done?
As I noted earlier, on the face of it, there's nothing wrong with the removal of subsidy, PMS subsidy. Ordinarily, there's nothing wrong with it, especially considering the fact that there is a series of allegations that that particular policy has been bedeviled by corrupt practices, and in which case, in the true sense of it, that subsidy is not being paid, even prior to that pronouncement, or better stated that the funds mapped out for the subsidization of the PMS and other sister products, that most of their lives from the subsidy removal will be used for the betterment of the Nigerian people, then you actually worsen the situation of the Nigerian people. And that is what is playing out. I repeat again, as Mr. President did by making that pronouncement that subsidy removal will take effect upon his assumption of office, the question that an average Nigerian is now asking is this: the funds realized from that particular line of action that Mr. President told, has the funds been used in taking care of the needs of a vast majority of the Nigerian populace? I think the answer is in the negative. Some days ago, it was in the news that the members of the during a report